Hello, everybody, and welcome to Positive Fandom. Welcome to the Burnettwork. I am RM, and tonight we have with us today Darth Plato. Darth Plato, how are you?
Hello, Arden. Hello, everybody watching. Been a good day. How are you?
I am doing well. Darth Plato, we're going to be starting this new series for us, essentially. We've been doing so many amazing watch parties of historical films, and tonight is no different. We're going to be starting off with the Pacific in anticipation of Masters of the Air, this new series that's coming out in January. And I wanted to, everybody is very, very familiar with Band of Brothers, absolutely everyone, but not so many people have watched the Pacific, Dark Plato, including myself. I think I've seen 2 episodes of the Pacific. Dark Plato, have you watched this series before?
Yeah, I watched it in 2010.
So it's been a while, I'm assuming, since you've seen it. I know it's been a while for me. Oh, and Julian is here. And hi, Julian. Hope you are well. Good to see you here tonight. I hope everything is going great with you. Um, yeah, it is very interesting how these series are being made, and I'm excited for Masters of the Air. And I felt like I needed to review the Pacific first because I don't remember very much about how this series was made or anything in any details about it. And I am very fascinated by stories told of this era, especially the Pacific. On the Pacific, I know a lot more about other areas of what's going on in the war, but hardly anything when it comes to the Pacific, Darth Plato. What about you? Do you think that you know as much in the on the war on the Pacific front for World War II, Darth Plato? I mean, what are your thoughts about this series since you've seen it before, and how much you know about it?
Well, to be honest, World War II is not really my thing. It's probably what I know least about. Excuse me. However, concerning the war itself, I grew up reading about the war, so I'm not a stranger to the details. Just I never, I never took formal education in the Second World War. I have read stuff about it. I'm probably more familiar with the Pacific than I am with the Europe, simply because I'm more into naval research.
Okay,
At least in recent years, anyway.
no, that's good to know. And I also want to say hello to Bonzo Kilborn. Hi, Bonzo, who says, positive fandom greetings and salutations, lovely lady. Bonzo, it is such a pleasure. Thank you for the warm wishes for the holiday. Greetings and salutations to you as well. We hope you are well. And thanks for being here and joining us for being here for this, the first 2 episodes of this watch party of the Pacific here with myself and Darth Plato. We are so glad that you are here tonight. And without any further ado, guys, I have the clock right down here. We're going to start in 3 minutes. It'll say December 1941, um, where
On on Netflix.
you can watch it on a number of channels. It's available on Max. You can
Right.
watch it there, and you can also watch it on Netflix as well. We're going to be starting at the 3 minute point. So all you have to do is go to skip intro um, if you want to start it at that point. That's where Darth Vader and I are starting it. It'll say the Pacific and it'll say 1941, if I can get one. Part one. The Pacific Part One, December 1941, will follow right after that. And that's where we are, Darth Plato and myself are starting. And it does say the United States of America there. That is where we are starting. You're going to hear a bell. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get this party started. I also want to say hello to Tom Jr. Jackson. Hey, Tom, a moderator, collaborator, and good friend, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all good people. Tom, it's great to see you. Hope you are well. We're just about to start this watch party, Tom. So let's get this party started. Hit and click the subscribe button, everybody. And let's go ahead and do it in 3, 2, 1, start.
I just wanted to say hello to Julian and Bonzo and Tom. Thanks for coming, guys. Mhm.
Mhm. Oops. Whew. That is quite an address. And Julian Mushkin says, I thought William Sadler was great as Chesty Puller. Thanks
Yeah,
for that information, Julian.
yeah, yeah. I like his acting. Yeah.
And
Uh,
Tom says The Pacific is one part of the best series of shows by Spielberg and Tom Hanks on World War II. Absolutely, Tom. Absolutely.
yeah, I think Tom Hanks is the narrator.
Hmm. Now, I
Right.
love.
So, what you saw him describing about the operation going on in the Pacific, that's true. The operation, it wasn't just Hawaii. The Japanese struck all over the Pacific region.
Exactly. And I love John Bernthal, who's in this series. I think he's a fantastic actor.
Oh, is he? Wasn't he the Punisher?
Yes, yes, he was. And he was in The Walking Dead.
Right.
There he is there.
Yeah. So when the war started, that was what they did. They decided by they I mean the combined U.S. British government decided to have a Europe first policy. So they would defeat Germany first, concentrate their efforts there, and basically do what they could in the Pacific. If it was a holding action, it'd be a holding action. If it was they'd go on the offensive, they'd go on the offensive. They didn't know at this point, December 41, what that was going to look like. They were just determined to bifurcate the world between those two theaters, and the Army was given responsibility for Europe, and the Navy was primarily given responsibility for the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
Which is not to say that the Navy was not in the Atlantic; they were, but it was
Mm-hmm.
the emphasis was the Pacific. There were Marines in the European theater, but not very many compared to the Pacific. And there were Army in the Pacific as well, but like I said, the vast majority of the Army was in Europe. But not
Europe.
yet. But not yet. The Army didn't actually go until the torch landings.
Mm-hmm.
That was several months later.
Yeah, and this is so good to note, and just really going to be such a great series to watch, seeing the detail, which I don't know a lot of details about, but I'm looking forward to seeing more. Mikey Lito is here. Hey, Mikey Lito says hello, everyone. And Mikey Lito says John Bernthal is extremely underrated.
Yeah, he is.
Um,
That's true.
I, I agree. And it's good to see you, Mikey Lito.
Watch content, form opinion.
Absolutely. Interesting. He's a writer.
Yeah, he's not going to have time for a typewriter.
No. I do like this actor as well. I can't remember his name. I should have written all the names down. So this is James Badge Dale, who plays Robert Leckie. And it says he prepares to ship out and he enlists in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, my understanding is that this series was supposed to be more expansive. They were supposed to cover the profiles of more individuals, but for some reason they narrowed it down and they're only focusing on three.
That's interesting.
Unlike, I think that's why people didn't like it as much as Band of Brothers because it was more limited in scope.
Was there more to cover, not just in area, but in incidents when it comes, let's say if we had to compare, it's not fair to do this, but comparing the European theater versus the Pacific theater?
Compare how?
Was there more area physically
Oh,
to cover as well as more incidents, more battles when comparing the European theater to the Pacific theater?
well, the Europe overall saw more war, sure, by far, because you have more countries involved. You had Russia involved. The Russians lost more people than pretty much most of the rest of the countries of the war combined. So yeah, Europe definitely saw more action. As far as the U.S. is concerned, um, yeah, I don't know. The Marines lost a lot of guys, but that was later in the war. Like when they started going into Okinawa and Iwo Jima, they lost a lot of good guys there. The Army lost a lot of good guys in the Ardennes offensive. That was pretty brutal. I don't know which side was more intense for the Army or the Marine Corps. I think the Marine Corps saw more action day to day than the Army did.
Yeah, it's something to think about. And certainly there are differences because of location and geography as well. Michaelitos says probably the great distances over water in the Pacific. Yeah, there's a lot to consider and how these battles will be fought there. And we got such a great introduction from the commander who spoke to the troops there to let them know how things were going to proceed. It does feel quite immediate, in a sense. And Julian, hi Julian. Julian, you were talking to me about experiences of watching this show and how it affected you. Julian says, I think U.S. losses in the Pacific were heavier than Europe. And there's a lot that I don't know about the Pacific battles at all. I know the only thing I really know are the movies that I've watched. So it's quite apropos that I'm watching a series about it to learn about it. I'm not going to pick up a book to learn about the Pacific. However, I will watch the series and try and learn as much as I can. That's why I love doing watch parties like this, because it does give you the opportunity to learn about so many important things in history.
Yeah, I may not know what the actual casualty figures are off the top of my head, but I do know that the combat between the Allies and the Japanese, individually speaking, was far more brutal than it was in Europe. It was much more personal.
And Julian recommends great YouTube channel on the Pacific campaign is Unauthorized History of the Pacific War podcast. Thank you so much, Julian, for the recommendations. I so do appreciate it.
So at some point, there was a discussion between the Joint Chiefs about what their strategy was actually going to be. So the Navy wanted to muster their strength early and make a direct thrust on Japan right away. They didn't want to dally or do all these side things. They just wanted to go straight to Japan. But MacArthur had his way. MacArthur believed in starting in the south and doing an island hopping campaign and reach Japan that way, and gradually liberate as they went along. And MacArthur did have his way. So that's really why the action is taking place in the right around the area of the Solomon Islands. So there was some concern at this point in the war as to what the Japanese intentions were regarding Australia. They wasn't sure if they were planning to invade, and it turned out they were not. Australia was not under threat of invasion, but at that time that wasn't known. There was a lot of interest in the Allies to get a strong foothold in the Southwest Pacific ASAP to limit what the Japanese strategic objectives could be. Now, what we're seeing here is probably taking place several months after December. So I think Midway's already taken place. So the turning point of the war has already taken place. I think.
And Mike Alito says, Mike Alito Googled it. He says more than 30 million soldiers and civilians were killed in the Pacific theater, compared with 15 to 20 million killed in Europe. Thank you, Mike Alito, for letting us know. Also, statistics. I know absolutely nothing about the Pacific when it comes to statistics. So this is all new to me, and I appreciate you letting us know.
Oh yeah, if you're counting China, yeah, that's probably true. There's some debate as to whether the action in China actually falls under World War II. So there's a lot of debate about that. Because otherwise, World War II started in 1933, 1934, not 1939. Yeah, yeah, they're really not holding back the name calling.
And hello, Brogu, who says hello. Just dropping by to say hello. Hope you are doing well. I am doing well, Brogu. So good to see you. Have you seen the series, The Pacific, Brogu? If you have and you liked it, or whatever your thoughts of it after seeing us, please let us know. I'd love to get your opinion on it if you have watched it. I'm really curious about uh, the depiction on the boats and for these soldiers being on these vessels, whether it's a boat, a submarine, whatever it is, and
Yeah,
how
where is this?
experiences were.
Well, I know that the action on Guadalcanal started because they received intel that the Japanese were building an airfield there which was later renamed Henderson Airfield. The Japanese obviously didn't call it Henderson. Uh, so that's really why the Marines are going to Guadalcanal. They didn't want the Japanese to have aerial any kind of air advantage in the Southwest Pacific. Offensively, there was quite an advantage for the Allies too, because if the Allies take Henderson Field, then they have air cover in that area. That's true, but also there was a large naval stronghold out to the southwest of there somewhere called Truk, Truk. That was a major stronghold for the Japanese Navy, and Truk was within air range of Guadalcanal. So that was another reason why they wanted to keep Guadalcanal.
Hmm.
So there were a lot of reasons for going here. It's very Saving Private Ryan right now.
Mm-hmm. Julian says Japanese movements which resulted in the Battle of the Coral Sea was seen as a direct threat to Australia. Just another reason the Solomons campaign was first. And he says, yes, Guadalcanal airfield was seen as part of that threat to the route to Australia. Thank you, Julian. Thank you both. I'm
Yeah,
really I know nothing about this time period and location of World War II, other than what I've said I've seen in a few films, and they're not that common from what I've seen.
yeah. If you get on a boat and sail directly south southwest, you'll hit Australia.
Well, yes, yes, but I mean the battles themselves and the outcomes and who won what and all that sort of stuff. Not necessarily the geography. I know about the geography part, thank
Yeah.
God. But don't ask me, like what occurred when and what the decisive battles are in the Pacific. I know none of it. Absolutely none of it.
Well, you're watching one of them.
Yes. Finally.
You know about Midway already.
Yes, I do know about that.
Second Battle of Philippine Sea would be another. All right. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
I have kind of a question.
Oh yeah, the mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are really bad. They have malaria. Yeah, malaria was a big threat.
Hmm. It's about one of our presidents,
Yeah.
and he's a World War II. First of all, we had a lot of people who were either presidents or senators or whatever that were veterans of wars,
Sure.
but
Sure.
one president, JFK,
That's
had this
right.
very interesting experience when he was in World War II. And
Um,
like everybody knows, he's a World War II veteran. But
yeah, I was actually going to mention that, but go ahead.
yeah, I, um, I kind of saw something that had a little bit about the experience, but he had some situation where he was stranded in the middle of the ocean, essentially, where he was treading
Yeah.
water or something like that.
He commanded a PT boat, and he was and PT boats was the Navy's answer to Japanese larger ships because they couldn't always they couldn't necessarily get the big ships there in time, so they had to have something there in the meantime. So that's what the PT boats were doing, and there was a lot of duels between PT boats and destroyers. And Kennedy's PT boat had a duel with a destroyer. The destroyer won, and they actually rammed the PT boat, and it split the PT boat in half and put them all like 2-3 miles out at sea. So, and they had to swim 2 or 3 miles to get to land,
Yeah.
and that's how he got his Bronze Star. That's actually very near here. I'll point that out when we get there.
Oh my
But,
goodness.
yeah, I'm not sure when it probably was right about this time. I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably late 42, early 43 is when is when that happened. Yeah, they don't show this from the Japanese perspective at all, but from the Japanese perspective, it's actually interesting. Is the Navy and the Army were supposed to be cooperating in this operation, and they did not talk to each other at all. So
Oh
one didn't
goodness.
know. That's right. So they were completely blind to each other. So what the Army saw, the Navy didn't see. What the Navy see, the Army didn't see. And there's no communication at all.
And Julian says the PT-109 is a pretty good, if a bit fabricated. I'm sorry, fabricated movie about that incident. Stars Cliff Robertson. Thank you, Julian. I certainly will check that out.
I think I'm gonna know that I'm not speaking loud enough. Can you hear me better?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't. Sometimes I forget not to point the mic directly at me. Yeah, I don't know if the U.S. has retrieved Henderson Field at this point. And part of the problem with the Japanese was they built Henderson Field. They didn't have any troops there. They just had engineers, so they went in without any guns. So as soon as the Marines landed, the Japanese all ran for it, and they couldn't defend. They couldn't defend the airfield, and the airfield was almost completely intact. So the U.S. was able to use it right away. So the Japanese have to send troops to retrieve the airfield. I don't, like I said, I'm not sure where we are in that sequence of events. I'm not sure if Henderson has fallen yet.
Ooh. And Julian says the Marines grabbed it almost right away within a day, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, honestly, Julian might actually know more about this than I do.
Yeah, maybe. Julian says the Japanese did not defend it. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah, they didn't respect the fighting quality of the West. They didn't. And by the West, well, the North America. They absolutely did not. Oh, yikes!
Oh, no.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. And Julian says that World War II was a favorite hobby of mine in high school.
So you got to tell people what you're doing. All right, so I guess they have the airfield then. Okay. I think that's Iron Bottom Sound. Yeah, that's the Battle of Iron Bottom Sound. That's one of the few instances where the Japanese actually got the better of the Americans at sea. Yeah, yeah, that was it. That was Iron Bottom Sound. They lost something like 4 or 6 cruisers. Yeesh. So that body of water you're looking at there, I think that's where the incident with JFK's PT boat. It was out in that body of water.
Wow.
I think. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think it was in that general area. It could be the other side of the island. Yeah, I don't know why, but the Japanese Navy was very ambitious with their planning, but very timid about their execution. I don't know why that is. It's really weird reading about it. So they this is a pretty ambitious operation they planned here, but when it actually came time to their people to go into the area with their ships, the commander, I don't know who was in charge there, was really cautious. So he didn't have any positive identification on where U.S. carriers were, so he just assumed the worst case scenario that they were out there waiting for me. They're waiting for me, and so he just pulled his people back out as far as he could go, and did not offer any support at all for the Japanese troops landing on the island. So they got no naval support at all.
And Julian says they kicked our Navy around several times there, somewhat northwest if of their if I remember my geography. Thanks so much, Julian. And we're about halfway through the first
Yeah,
episode.
yeah, I think that's called the Tokyo Express is what they called that. So the ships were actually really good, but the Japanese equipment wasn't very good. So it's like low rent people showing up in a limousine. So look at these guys. These guys are ready for business.
And thank you again, Julian, for letting us know, since that was our E. Kennedy's incident. Thank you.
Boom. Here we go.
Okay. No, he's not in good shape.
That's the officer.
Ugh, he's having a breakdown. Julian says, well, no one would call the Japanese destroyers and the Long Lance torpedo low rent. Our Navy seemed not to believe that torpedoes could work as well as theirs did, and says that torpedo wreaked havoc on our boats for a long time.
Well, I know that Japanese aviation was really well financed because there were some of the go-to people in the Navy were naval aviation, so they got all the money they needed to do what they needed to do. That's why the Zeros were so good, the torpedoes were so good, and some of the ships were really good. But the marine equipment, not so much. So the boats were good, but yeah, the marine equipment wasn't good, and neither was the army equipment. The tanks were not very good either. The army planes weren't very good. They stopped using planes. They just started using Zero planes. They just changed the paint job. Yeesh.
Oh my goodness.
remember the scene.
Oh,
They're wasting ammo.
oh. Mm.
Yeah, that was ugly. S2. S2 was jargon for intelligence. He's riding to that girl he met outside church.
Girl across the street.
Interesting. Yeah, that's true. It's always been that way in the war.
What do they have to lance them?
Yeah,
Just iodine, I guess.
Yeah, one of the differences between the Pacific and the European theater, aside from North Africa, of course, you could actually go to nice places and dress up if you had the clothes. Yeah, the whole sneaky thing, like the Japanese were sneaky. Yeah, that whole thing was really unfair. Uh, so Pearl Harbor was a sneak attack. Yeah, that's true. But that was part of the political drive and the propaganda drive to get people riled up. Like they sneak attacked us, and it was bad. It was wrong. It's true. But the fact of the matter, deception has always been part of war. You want to be sneaky in war. It's not a gentleman's club. You're being sneaky. That's part of the course in war. Oh, that's part. That's in the part one.
Hmm. That was an excellent episode. And if we go to skip the intro for,
Next episode.
yeah, did I skip it? Yeah. We're gonna start.
Skipping the intro.
Yes, the intro was. It's probably going to be at 3 minutes again. So
Green.
I'm guessing 3 minutes. So 57, 58, 59.
You want to go to 3 minutes? Okay, I'll go to 3 minutes.
That's
There
where
we
we
go.
started before, right? Was
Three
it three
minutes.
minutes? Where it says the Pacific. Um,
It says the Solomon. What I'm looking at says the Solomon Islands.
okay, let me just get to that point then. Part two. Yes, I see it now. It zooms into like a map.
Yeah. So
Just
I'm paused on that right now.
okay, and that is at, where is this at? Yeah, that's exactly 3 minutes or
Yep.
so. Okay, excellent. Okay, guys, so we just watched the first episode, which was unbelievable and went very, very fast. Now we're on episode two of the Pacific. Um, thank you to the bunch of you who are here. Julian says they tried to deliver the declaration of hostilities before the attack, but you know it didn't work. I guess more or less. And we are starting at the 3 minute mark for episode two. Episode two of the Pacific. You're going to see something that says the Solomon Islands, and let's go ahead and press that play button right now.
Well, that's technically true. That's because of the Geneva Convention of 1908 says that you can't initiate hostility without a declaration of war.
Oh, and it
So,
says Guadalcanal, October 1942.
yep.
Okay.
So what the Japanese were trying to do was deliver the notice. So you're trying to be technically correct. Mere minutes before the attack actually took place. It wasn't like a day or 2 days or a week in advance. So, yeah, that's true. They did try to deliver that. It arrived late, but that's not going to matter to propagandists.
And so far, the series has been fantastic. The first episode going by very, very quickly.
Yeah, one of the differences between this series and Band of Brothers is in Band of Brothers, there was actually an extensive period, episode wise, where they showed the training of the men that were going to Europe. But here, they didn't show that at all. They just jumped straight to Guadalcanal. So you'd have no idea what their training experience was.
That is true.
So I like the fact that they just kind of got right into it. Oh,
Ooh. Mm.
So I believe it took 3 men to operate one of those machine guns, or operate and transport. One or the other. Yikes.
Oh. Oh no. That wasn't the kid who said it was his birthday, was it?
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. Nips, never heard that one.
Well, I know what I know what nips are, and I'm not quite sure whether it's the same thing in this program.
I think it's referring to the Nippon, Nippon, which is the Japanese word for Japan.
Hmm.
That's probably what it means. I think. I'm not sure about the spelling. World War One. Actually, come to think of it, I think they were using World War One era guns. The Marines, yeah, the Marines weren't well equipped at this time. I think I remember hearing that from somewhere.
Julian says Marines were stuck with the Springfield. I have no idea what that means. Thank you so much, Julian. Says it's their bolt action rifle. Thank you.
They could just say rice. Yeah, nasty. Come and get it.
Oh, no, no, no.
Weevils made it into the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
It fit right in on a Napoleonic era British ship. Yeah, there were different theories about discipline. About you had to have shine shoes, shaven, and a tie in some places. Not everyone did that, so that was a school of thought for discipline, but not everyone was like that.
What are they gonna do?
I remember this scene. This is funny.
Are they taking gear?
Yeah, they're robbing they're robbing the army.
Well, I guess it's either that or eat weevils, huh?
Yeah, it's good enough for Hornblower.
Go for the case that has the spam.
That's an officer's locker. Uh,
You check it to see if it fits him.
there you go. There's some new guns for you.
And Julian says Army and Marines have a fractious relationship.
They're getting along better than the Japanese did with their split services. That's funny.
It seems like it's something out of MASH or something. Like a comedy. Or drink any red label whiskey that's not yours. There we go.
Yeah.
He's literally on that log. Poor thing.
He's if that's true, then he's in danger of dehydration.
Yes. Oh, man.
Okay, that looks like a naval bombardment.
So it's coming offshore all the way towards the land. That's terrible.
Coming onto the from shore. Yeah, that's what the Japanese should have did that first night they attacked.
Oh, man. See you later, Julian. Oh,
Yeah, some people just can't take it. They really can't. They volunteer because they want to do their part, and they don't realize what they're getting into. Oh, you're a cute little dog.
oh,
Yeah, they took a direct hit. Yeah, direct hit.
oh, oh.
They have armor.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened earlier with that random bombardment, but that bombardment that we saw earlier, that's what should be going on now.
Mm-hmm.
But because the Japanese pulled their ship so far from the coast, they weren't really doing that. That's what they should be doing. You use heavy artillery, in this case the ships, to soften up what your targets. Then you can hit them with your infantry. That's what they're supposed to be doing. But they don't really seem to be doing that. They're just coming in shouting banzai. There's the banzai charge they call this. You end the fight with this. You don't start the fight with this.
Oh no.
Yeah, look at that. They're just coming out of the jungle, just shooting randomly.
Oh man. Oh. Oh. Oh no. Oh.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I'm not sure where that light's coming from.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, I remember this. Hmm.
Oh no.
If that attack had taken place out after the naval bombardment, that would have gone very differently. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he won the Medal of Honor for what he did. See what they did there with the flag? They used to do that at all the schools. We're going.
And Hakan, hi Hakan, says this is one great series. Enjoy. Thanks so much, Hakan, for stopping by. And it certainly is very impressive.
Witness World War One.
Mhm.
Yeah. Very different conflict, though. Not really a fair comparison. Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the war propaganda,
Oh.
and it helps when you actually win. See, in the Japanese media, they were presenting it that they won.
Oh
But
my goodness gracious. Wow. Oh my gosh, Darth Plato.
that was quite an episode.
It was. This is a fantastic series. I just can't get over how good it is. It has a certain level of intensity. These first two episodes, you just thrown so quickly into everything.
Yeah, yeah. Band Bird was more of a slow burn. Yeah,
And this, seeing them kind of get back on, I guess, one of the ships, which I'm sure they just go back and forth from ship to ship. But seeing them get on the ship where they're just so, it's like I don't even know if they're looking at the ship as a refuge away from the craziness on land. I mean, they're not safe. They might be a little bit safer for a second, but there's still danger. But this,
yeah.
I
I'm not
mean,
sure that went on for several months. I'm not sure how long that was. That went on for a while.
I'm so impressed with what they did with this, with just the first two episodes. This is so well done, so well done, and I did learn a lot. Um, it was just terrifying.
And yeah, it can be. Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I was just thinking. For me, I'm just thinking of what I've read about how the Japanese attacks were piecemeal. They weren't concentrated and they weren't supported. And so, what I'm trying to say is they were weak and ineffective. But when you watch that episode, you wouldn't get that impression because it's just sheer brutality. It's in your face. It's desperate. You think that they're going to get overrun in a second, and I'm sure probably did feel like that. If the Japanese had had their act together, none of those guys probably would have got out of there alive. So that's the first thing that comes to it. The second thing that comes to it, I mean, and well, that's just the history guy me talking. Uh, the other thing I can say is I think that's one of the better portrayals of a war story. This episode and last story I've ever seen. And I've seen some good ones. Yeah, this is actually really good.
It's excellent, and certainly it doesn't leave you wondering about so many elements of the action. There certainly was this, like they made a point of showing and demonstrating the youth of the Marines when one of them had just turned 18. He was 17 years old, literally, the day before, and now he's just 18, poor thing, fighting in this war. The
Or lied about his age. Yeah,
and these men have to be incredibly adaptable, and I don't think jump around is the right word to say. They have to be, they're constantly in motion. It feels like they're constantly in motion, going from place to place, going from ship to landing, to ship to landing. It must be just so makes it must have made their heads spin with the constant changes. It feels as if they never they never really get a chance to have any kind of continuity. They just have to always be on point and ready with their gear at any time to go to the next place, to go to the next point. And it's hard. It's incredibly difficult. I think that the battle scenes were also very good.
yeah. As I was saying earlier, it's that was one of the more visceral things I've seen in terms of World War II.
Hmm. Yes, and certainly it it's just unbelievable how they were able to make it look this way. I mean, this is a battle that took place, what is it, over 70 something years ago, right, Darth Plato?
It's
Um,
late 42, early 43, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. Yeah, it's over 80
and
years ago.
and this production was done over 10 years ago. Certainly it looks just as good as it did 10 years ago. I
1910 or 2010.
Yeah, it just
I think
looks
it's 2010. Yeah,
it looks incredible, and yeah, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen in the next episodes, and it went by very, very fast.
it did. Yeah, I think the highlight. I think the highlight. Excuse me. I think the highlight so far is the Great Marine train robbery.
Certainly, I imagine that a lot, of circumstances left them in that position where they had to just make do, constantly making do with whatever was available and working with what they had. It just was so well done. I'm so glad they made this. I'm so glad they made this series. And this is just the first 2 episodes. We have 8 more episodes to go. Um, any last comments about the first 2 episodes, Darth Plato?
Well, what we saw with the kid and his dad, who was a doctor, he's going to be the one of the points of view that we see throughout the series. Well, we've seen two of them so far. One was Bob Leckie. That was one who's writing the letters to Vera, and the other one was John Bastion, who was cited for the medal. So those are the two we've seen so far, and the kid Eugene that we just saw towards the end of that episode, walking out with the dog, who will be the third one. That will be the third perspective that we see. So we'll start seeing more of him from this point on. So apparently these episodes are based on real people. And it's those.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I
these
didn't
are.
know that.
Yeah. But yeah. Apparently these are based on real people. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm happy to hear that. So a real person did win that medal and did actually do those things that we saw in this episode then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the Medal of Honor recipients have detailed citations that you can look up at any time. You can probably look it up right now. John Bastion Medal of Honor, and see what it says. All that stuff is readily available.
And Tom Jr. Jackson says, I really love this series. Yeah, Tom, this is amazing. So glad that we are doing this now, Darth Plato. It's very interesting. Of course, you and I are watching this, and everybody, we're watching this because we're leading this up to Masters of the
Right.
Air, which is going to be coming up in January. We wanted to review the Pacific. As I said, this is the first time I'm really watching it in its entirety. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and not even the first few many years ago. And now I kind of see it in this context right before this the Masters of the Air series that's going to be coming up in January, which we are going to review. Darth Plato and I are going to review. I think it is very interesting to look at the Pacific series. Certainly, I'm I think that it's really something that is very special to get a series like this. So, um, any final thoughts before we wrap up episodes 1 and 2, Darth Plato?
Well, I think I would be amiss if I failed to say thank you for moderating Tom Jr. Jackson, and thanks for you for having me on the show. I appreciate your selection.
Well, thank you for being here, Darth Flitter. I couldn't do it without you. And of course, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people, Tom. And thank you, as always, for being here for these watch parties. We do appreciate it, guys. Um, Certainly do join us next week on Thursday at 6:30 as we do the next set, episodes 3 and 4, excuse me, of the Pacific. We're going to continue this till we cover all the episodes of the Pacific. And then that's going to lead into Masters of the Air, which we're going to do episode by episode. So thank you, everybody who stopped by tonight, including Mikey Lito, Julian Mushkin, Bonzo Kilborn as well, who were here, and Grogu. Thank you, everybody, for being here, as well as Hakan. I think it's Hakan, for stopping by. And anybody who watches us on the replay, do join us again for the next episodes, continuing on of this incredible series, The Pacific, leading up to Masters of the Air. And guys, I sure hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Christmas is coming up. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, I sure hope you do have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful Christmas that you celebrate. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.